Hi everyone, a pleasant afternoon. We are from Team 1 and we are here to present with you our chosen industry for our third group presentation, which is the transport sector focuses on the private transportation services. All right, so let me walk you through our topic discussion this afternoon. And let me also introduce with you my teammates. And okay, so for the executive summary, I'll be the one to discuss it, and my teammate Irene will discuss about the industrial structure, while I'll also share a little bit about this section in the later part. And Sam will discuss about the macro environmental trends, while Marvin will discuss about the industry value chain and forces driving competition, and Carlson to discuss about the market segments. And for the last topic discussion, Sam again to discuss the conclusion and recommendation. Okay, so to give a background about our chosen industry, we'd like to share that the private transportation in the Philippines today is exceptionally growing. In fact, there are now 8 newly accredited transport network companies that are gearing towards disrupting the price monopoly by a major player since 2017. These new TNCs are Filipino startups that engages traditional taxis or vehicles in the ride-hailing business. And to discuss in detail later, together with my teammates, we have used these tools to determine the different aspects of this sector. And we have concluded that to any technological development and transition, whether in public or private transportation, it must always serve a growing population and economical advantage while we are coping with the worsening highway congestions. And of course, and most importantly, it should be consolidated efforts of both the government and the private transport business owners. And to discuss the industrial structure, we'll have to turn you over to Irene. Go ahead, I.
Thank you, Marian. To start off with the industrial structure, the transport is a key sector in the Philippine economy, linking population and economic centers across the islands. The transport system of the Philippines consists of road transport, such as automobiles, motor vehicles, truck and freight movement. Water transport includes river ferries or ferry services, ports and harbor. Air transport, such as airport services and airlines. And lastly, rail transport, which consists of urban rail services or the MRT or LRT and regional rail service. Water transport plays an important role due to the archipelagic nature of the country, but road transport is by far the dominant subsector. According to the research of Asian Development Bank, the road transport carried approximately 1.7 to 1 billion passengers, representing 98% share in passenger traffic. Furthermore, the gross domestic product or GDP from transport in the Philippines increased to 121 million and 294,000 pesos in the third quarter of 2020. This slide shows that the riding public still continues to prefer Transportation Network Vehicle Service or the TNVS for their daily commute. According to Research and Tech Lab, 46% of online Filipinos choose TNVS as their primary mode of transportation. Also, 24% of them go for taxis or the traditional taxis. 12% take the bus, 11% travel via train, and 6% prefer UV Express, shuttle, or FX. The study of Research and Tech Lab showed price is the differentiating factor for the divided sentiments of commuters, wherein affordability drives them in taking their chosen public utility vehicle. The majority of riders, however, like the convenience, security, and fixed fares that the NBS offer. Most agree they can save time and energy in waiting and bargaining with just a simple app. If before riding a PUV is a daily struggle for commuters, the arrival of TNBS gave birth to a new form of lifestyle. Booking transportation for them has just become a few clicks away. Citing the efficiency of TNBS, subscribers describe it as a hassle-free option and offers value for money. Users said network vehicles are more reliable compared to the regular taxis. To further discuss the TNVS, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or the LTFRB, has accredited 9 transportation network companies, or TNC, as of 2019. The first one is Grab Holdings. As we all know, Grab is a Singapore-based technology company offering ride-hailing transport services. In addition to transportation, the company offers food delivery and digital payments services via a mobile app. Ipara Technologies and Solutions Incorporated, which has an app called Auto, a wholly Filipino-owned TNVS company who uses private vehicles for its ride-hailing service. Auto boasts of being the first among TNVS companies in the Philippines to have an in-app surveillance system for rider and drivers protection. Next is the Hirna Mobility Solutions. Originally from Davao, Hirna will offer 24/7 customer service and booking hotline. Their services are not limited to smartphone apps, as phone calls are also accepted. MyCab System Corporation, or MyCab Taxi, was founded in Cebu but also operates in Iloilo and now expanding in Davao and Metro Manila. MyCab is a mobile app for hailing taxicabs in the Philippines. ePick Me Up Incorporated is a new established transport network company providing for pre-arranged rides for compensation using a digital platform that connects passengers with drivers using a personal vehicle. Next is the GoLat, shortened version of Go Laguna, the province where the ride-hailing service is based. Aztec Solution, which has an app called Snabicat, an all-Filipino ride-hailing and delivery app that aims to provide the most affordable transport and delivery option. Next is RYD Global, which is the current coverage is the Metro Manila. And lastly, Hype Transport System Incorporated is also a 100% Filipino-owned transport network company. And the name stands for its core values such as honest, young, professional, and empowering. Hype will use private cars like Grab, but booking can also be done through SMS. In a market research conducted by a research firm, Statista, there were about 2.96 million users of transportation network companies or TNC in the Philippines. This is expected to increase to 3.5 million and balloon to 5.4 million by 2022. Current supply shows there are more or less 35,000 private cars in the system, at least for Grab. And LTFRB has allowed the supply of transportation network vehicle service to be capped at 66,750 units from 45,700 units previously. As you can see in the graph, the allocations to date are as follows. 79% or 65,000 units are for Metro Manila, 18% or 1,500 units for Cebu, and 3% or 250 units for Pampanga. To continue the discussion about the TNVS market share, I'll hand you back to Marian.
Okay, so thanks, Ai. To continue the discussion, I'll be sharing with you about the market share and competition. So in this topic, we have cited the Grab Holdings Inc. as our in our case study. So as we all know, Grab is considered as the leading super app in Southeast Asia and the first in the Philippines to get accredited by the government and have a regulatory framework. So to share with you this figure, so this is the net revenue for Grab from the year 2017 and 2018, and also the projected net revenue by the year 2019. So up to date, Grab has a latest funding of a total of 10.5 billion US dollars and with a latest valuation of 14 billion US dollars as of August 2020. So aside from its continuous product innovation and creativity in updating service offerings, Grab is also very active and constantly initiating significant partnership with both private and government agencies. So one of the significant partnerships that Grab has initiated last year was with Telenov. So Grab entered into a strategic partnership with Telenov. This is a leading provider of connected car and location-based services. So this partnership aims to leverage the power of data and AI technologies to contribute to better mapping and location-based solutions. So another strategic partnership that Grab has initiated was with Unilever. This is during the COVID-19 pandemic, where everybody wants to help and be be to also help the Philippine economy to be rejuvenated. So Unilever, in partnership with Grab, aims to ensure the utmost safety and hygiene at every stage of the food delivery life cycle. And of course, through this, Unilever provided Grab food merchant partners and delivery partners with hygiene essential kits, which includes sanitizer and multi-purpose cleaners. So they have given these materials for Grab partners restaurant to be used in their food restaurant facilities. And not only that, Grab is also very active and engaging and supporting the government agencies programs such as ICADIWA of Department of Agriculture and the Philippine Harvest Initiative of the Department of Tourism. So both of these program initiatives aimed at connecting farmers and rural agripreneurs to take advantage of the digital economy to reach customers directly. Also, DTI has a program called MSME's Reboot Program that Grab is also supporting. It aims to provide digitalization support and solutions for MSMEs, especially during the time of pandemic. So these are just a few of the most significant partnerships that Grab has initiated to improve their services and ensure maximum visibilities to its online users and to also help boost the Philippine economy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so in terms of competition, as mentioned earlier, maximum visibility to its online users and positive social impact um, is the two major considered factors why Grab still dominates this sector. So to share this figure, so obviously Grab has penetrated the market by 93%, and while the remaining 7% actually comprises by all the other TNCs that has already accredited by the LTFRB, as mentioned by Irene earlier. So although CAP can be resolved by accrediting more and more competitors in this sector, um, the competition hasn't actually started yet to disrupt enough to disrupt the price monopoly that is happening right now. And maybe it's because of the some challenges that the new market entrants are actually facing. And these are challenges that are seem to be difficult, very difficult for them to face, such as the heavy capital requirements. So for them to really improve their services, they would need to invest a lot of capital for their technology to be updated and upgraded. Also, the incentive scheme that is said to be too hard to match. So Grab really offers twice or thrice the incentive that these TNCs or the emerging or the new market entrants is offering their drivers. This is the reason why they find it really difficult to attract drivers to join them, and of course the minor app glitches. All right, so to share with you the projected revenues in ride-hailing sector, so I would like to share with you this figure, which shows that the Philippines have a good outlook in ride-hailing business based on Statista projections. Um, Here, the compounded annual growth rate from the year 2019 to 2023 is estimated at 25%, and should be among the highest in the world. So Indonesia being the biggest market in the Southeast Asia region, and it is followed by Singapore and Thailand. All right, so that will be all for my report, and we'll have to turn it over to Sam for microenvironmental trends discussion. So take it away, Sam.
Thank you, Aiy and Marianne. Now let's move on to the next portion of the discussion, which is the macro-environmental trends of the industry sector. This is Sam, and I will be guiding you in this topic by using the pestle analysis, a tool made by Francisco Aguilar from Harvard. Here we have the industry level trends. First up are the political forces. Since the beginning of the incumbent president's term, the Dutertenomics platform includes the ongoing Build, Build, Build program, which goals to improve the public infrastructure, especially roads. This is a catalyst to the transportation sector. However, we may recall that most dominant TNC operators are multinational companies. Since around 2017, there have been several conflicts with traditional transport service operators that led to the sanctions and capping up to 65,000 TNVS units in operation. It should be mentioned that a lot of application for franchise has been put to hold or have been declined. In a separate case, it is worth noting that the government's ongoing jeepney modernization program may indirectly impact the transport sector. Next, we have the economic forces. A recent study of JICA projected that the country's general transportation cost would surpass 5 billion pesos a day by 2035. Another study from Elsevier experts points to the fact that households with less than 50,000 monthly income with no car ownership utilize public transport the most. Regarding TNC operators, it is known fact that the dominant firms are multinational companies. There may be local players, yet they are still startups. Then we have the social forces. The country's metro cities have dense population with low multi-criteria accessibility, which means it is more difficult to reach key destinations in the most conventional transportation modes. High traffic congestion is also prevalent among central business districts, which are the subject of traffic analysis zones. All of this support the data point from a recent transportation research that an average one-person trip is amounting to 1.17 hours and will be expected to increase even on year 2030. Now let's move on to the other factors. Technologically, the country has a preferred platform to support TNC services with improved networks. Firms may capitalize on the fact that there are more than 2,000 key destinations registered in Google Maps and other navigation services in Metro Manila alone. Related on the aforementioned Build program, railways and other alternative modes of transportation may have an impact on the transportation market for TNCs. Now let's move on to the legal aspects. First, we should know that the 1987 Constitution supports the development of transportation services. Just this 2017, a department order by the Department of Transportation recognizes TNC and TNVS in the Omnibus Guidelines on the Planning and Identification of Public Transportation Services and Franchise Issuance. For local level operations, RA 7160 gives authority to regulate the transportation at the LGU level in a decentralized manner. In the course of the global pandemic, the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act effectively limited the public transport. Yet since the month of June, after GCQ declaration, mass transportation has restored operations. Lastly, we have the environmental forces. Since this industry is directly affecting the environment and the implications of the increased carbon dioxide CO2 emissions have to be noted. A recent NSA projection mentioned that it is up to 28 million tons of CO2 by year 2040. We attribute the high volume of traffic from the expressways at the environmental level of the market, since this has been a common problem for quite some time. Lastly, the general threat of the COVID-19 severely affects operations of not just TNVS, but the entire transportation industry as a whole. Thank you for listening. Let's continue to Marvin's discussion of the industry value chain and more.
Thank you, Sam. Now we're going to talk about the industry value chain and the forces driving competition. A value chain is used to describe all the business activities it takes to create a product service from start to finish. And a value chain analysis gives businesses a visual model of these activities, which help them understand and improve its competitive advantage. So of course, these activities are divided into two, which are primary and secondary. I'll be showing two cases of value chain. First is around the conventional taxi company, say the dollar taxi, as an example. Before TNCs dominated, let's see how conventional taxi companies delivered services to commuters. First, of course, it's on its logistics activities. Taxi companies may or may not need to have their own fleet, but instead they tap drivers to join their company franchise. Drivers does not need to own a smartphone, but any normal phone will do to ensure that they're reachable from the office. And the office are going to install CCTVs or tracker for them to do that. So how are the taxi drivers connected to the commuters? It is through the company's call center. So just to emphasize, conventional taxi heavily relies on human resource to perform the operation. And customers just need to have any ordinary phones to call the call center. Then the call center will act as the middleman, wherein it will determine and contact the taxi driver and provide the details of the customer, where to pick up the customer. And of course, the ride will be done by the taxi driver as it arrives to the commuter. And at the end of the day, the payment method will be done through cash. The taxi driver will earn via two methods. First is through boundary system, or second is to via the speed fare system with the taxi operator based on the agreement. Then the marketing and sales activities are done by word of mouth or social media, and post services like feedbacks or complaints can be sent through suggestion box or company website indirectly, or just go to the main office. Yeah. Okay, so now we will proceed with the TNCs. With Grab, technology and operations are tightly working together to provide the value to both the riders as the customers and drivers who are considered contractors. TNCs like Grab starts with pulling drivers into its system, and Grab do not own any of the cars. In the Grab's value chain analysis, there are two key players, which are the drivers in the left side and the customers at the right side. At the middle, who is acting as the intermediate, is the Grab platform. Um, then the Grab drivers will deliver the service to the customers, and the customers will pay the fare to the drivers in return. And it is done via cash or app payment mode. Then, after the booking is confirmed and the service is delivered, the customers will provide a rating or feedback to the drivers that is happening real time, and at the same time should be able to receive Grab rewards. And on top of this, these transactions will not happen if the driver do not possess any of the registered vehicle and any phone, of course. These are the prerequisites to be a driver. You should have, of course, a car, which is not required to be yours, a mobile phone, and a mobile internet for you to be able to access the Grab app. On the other hand, passengers also cannot use this platform if they do not have any phone or any mobile internet to be able to access the Grab application. Then let's also not forget that while Grab is registered as a TNC, it has also entered the food and parcel delivery service alongside other services, because there has been a shift which is very significant this time for the mobile transport delivery, because it's now more valuable for the riders to provide service in the food and parcels because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So now let's go to Porter's 5 forces analysis, which is an industry analysis used to analyze an industry on the level of competition for them to develop and tailor a competitive business strategy to suit the organizations based on their strengths and weaknesses. The main 5 forces are namely the rivalry among existing firms, the threat of new entrants, threat of new substitution, bargaining power of supplier, and the bargaining power of buyers. For Philippines, TNC industry Grab has been the leader after it has acquired Uber in 2018, making it a strong monopoly in 2019. But through government regulation and intervention, new TNC companies were introduced who have the same booking style are able to join. But of course, still Grab is the market leader for the four-wheel drive transport segment. While for the threat for the new entrant is low, as Grab has already established a customer base, it will be rather challenging for new entrants to gain market share and create an impact, as Grab has successfully built a brand equity over the years. In 2019, actually, there is a moderate level of threat of substitute products. The main cause of substitute product in the market is derived from the customers shuffling from different transportation application to monitor the price of the ride to the same place and then book the cheapest price that is offered. Motorbike transport like Angkas is actually a good example of a substitute. Many have started to patronize Angkas over the more expensive Grab. But of course, we know that Angkas has been in many issues, and due to COVID-19, the operation has been stopped. The bargaining power of the suppliers for GrabCar is perceived to be the software and hardware developers of the application. And in order for Grab to operate smoothly with little or no hiccups, the developers have to constantly upgrade the system to fix the bugs and improve the speed and functionality of the application, with the addition of many other services. So that puts them in a better hand to bargain. For most of the driving forces, actually, nothing really much has changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, except for two, which are the rivalry among existing firms and the threat for new substitution. For the intensity of the rivalry, this is slightly higher due to COVID. When COVID happened, Metro Manila has been put into extreme lockdowns, and many riders from different TNCs has shifted to a more valuable service, which is the food and parcel delivery service, which actually has really have now a high rivalry. So this has left the TNC market for Grab and others to be slightly moderately competitive. And if Grab will continue to charge higher cost and continue to have poor service, other companies may eventually gain more commuters. While for the threat of substitution, the two-wheel transport mode offered by Angkas and the rest has actually have an opportunity over Grab. But due to COVID, the government imposed to stop the operation for Angkas and the rest during the extreme lockdown periods. Okay, so now we will discuss the product or service lifecycle. The product or service lifecycle has 4 clearly defined stages, each with its own characteristics, which means different things for businesses that are trying to manage the lifecycle of their particular product or services. So Grab was introduced in the Philippines in 2013, and Grab has already started to see the success in other Southeast Asian countries such as Singapore in 2012. So during the introduction, a lot of research and development activities are done. Also, this is also the time we actually launched the product or service. During this time, there's a low acceptance of the new product and services, there's a low growth of sales, there's a minimal profit, and there's a large marketing or launch expense. For the growth period, now we're seeing an increase in the market acceptance. So for example, the riders have started to book TNCs like Grab. The volume of the booking has increased, and Grab and other TNCs are starting to see the growth in their profit. And these brands are starting to gain more recognition in the market. Of course, the growth eventually will go to maturity, wherein we're seeing that there's a consistent booking volumes, there's a slow increase in the sales growth, there's an increase in the intensity of the competitions. No? The market is already very competitive, and this is the time to implement reward system to retain the loyal customers, and market penetrations with new service should be established. And eventually, for the decline, wherein we're seeing the decline in sales and profits due to the high operation costs, there's a consumer switch of brands and risk of exiting market. So now we could say that at the moment, in the Philippines, TNCs are between the growth and maturity wherein, of course, this year we see that Grab has monopolized the industry as when it acquired Uber, but we're seeing that other TNCs was already started, are also now being used by the riders in their commutes. Okay, so now for the dominant design and industry standards, the ability to book cars using smartphones to transport you from point A to point B has really changed the game for transportation and has actually put a lot of threat to the big taxi industry around the world. So what's really important to note is how established GPS and navigation platforms such as Google Maps and Waze has been used to support the operations of TNCs, which is to provide real-time updates as to when the driver is arriving and to see the whole ride duration experience from pickup point to the drop-off points. In a greater sense, TNCs introduce a different transportation mode, which are ride-hailing and ride-sharing. So what's the difference? Ride-hailing means particularly says that rider hails or hires a personal driver to take them exactly where they need to go. So the transportation vehicle is not shared with any other riders, nor does it make several stops along the route. So this is the Grab car equivalent. Now for the ride sharing by contrast is synonymous with carpooling. So it is literally a process in which a rider shares a vehicle with other riders. It is not a personal transportation mode, and the space is shared with other riders, and it will make stops to any pickup points by the other riders. Ride-hailing via Grab car is still the more preferred options by the riders, and it has become more apparent due to the pandemic. Due to the threats of the virus spread, TNCs like Grab discontinued the ride-sharing through its Grab Share. That's it for my part. I'll hand you over to Carlson to talk about the market segments.
Thank you, Marvin. The next part of our report is market segment. In here, we are going to discuss the different market segments under the transportation industry, the different buying characteristics of the consumers, product segmentation, and the different emerging technologies under this industry. So this is the overview of the target market under the transportation network companies. We have demographic, psychographic, and geographic segmentations. So in demographic, we are seeing ages 18 to 50 years old, both male and female, middle to upper middle class, ranging from students, working adults, and self-employed. Under the psychographic segment, we are seeing Gen Zs and millennials, who are mostly tech-savvy. They are innovators, steam seekers, and strivers. So innovators, steam seekers, and strivers are actually classifications under the psychographic segments. Innovators are self-confident risk-takers who set their own targets to achieve. Steam seekers are somewhat materialistic and aspire to become their symbols of success. And strivers give high importance to image and status. Geographic segment of the TNCs are mostly focused on Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. Under the demographic segment, we are seeing that 51% of the users are between 18 to 29 years old, while 43% are from the 30 to 49 age group. So it is evident that the target market of TNCs are the Gen Zs and millennials because they are more adaptable to the technology in the smartphone. 64% of the users are female. Income class are between middle to upper middle class with gross monthly income of 44,000 to 131,000 pesos. Occupation, we have white-collared workers under the said income class from IT and BPO industry, hospital staff, etc. In the geographic segment, we are seeing that TNCs operate mostly in highly urbanized cities and central business districts. So this is in Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, and Davao. So this makes sense because there are more economic activity under these urbanized cities. And of course, there are more businesses, more people, and thus more target market, more consumers for the TNCs. Under the psychographic segment, we are labeled as the smartphone generation. So in 2019, around 57% of the Philippine population use a smartphone. By 2025, it is projected that 77% of the entire population would be using smartphones. So this is incredible numbers because smartphones unlock the ride-hailing and ride-sharing economy. So it is all it, it it is expected to boom more in the future. And smartphones actually contributed a lot to the innovators, STEAM seekers, and strivers that I mentioned a while ago in the psychographic segment. So this is the buying preference and characteristics of the consumers when they are choosing their modes of transportation. This is actually the hierarchy that they are following. So first, and at the top of their hierarchy is preference due to time efficiency. So this includes the factor of approachability and accessibility. Next is preference due to convenience. So of course, they want ease and comfort. Next is preference due to affordability, and the last one is preference due to availability. So say Grab, for example, it already captures the first two and top preference of the consumers, time efficiency and convenience, because it is very accessible and it's very convenient. It is not that affordable and it's not always available, but the consumer still prefers it. So this is the product segmentation, and we basically just enumerated the different services and features of the different transportation network companies. Of course, Grab leads the group by a lot and offers the most services, the most special features, and it operates in most locations. GoLag is like Grab, but it only operates using private service and in less cities. Hirna is operating using a taxi type of service and only in Mindanao. Hype is only operating in Metro Manila and private only, no taxis. MyCab, taxi only, no private. And Auto, private only, and less cities than Grab. So these are the three emerging technologies under the ride-hailing industry. So we have 5G, blockchain, and autonomous ride-hailing. First one is 5G. So 5G is a new global wireless standard that will enable a plethora of capabilities in the transportation industry. So in ride-hailing specifically, 5G hotspots can be implemented to create local networks for both drivers and riders. Utilizing 5G's ultra-low latency and significantly faster upload and download speeds, both the consumers and the drivers will benefit. So in China, there's this company called Didi. It's a ride-hailing company like Grab. It is already utilizing this 5G technology. So what it did is it set up a lot of screens in its cars. Of course, the consumers can use those screens for whatever purpose they like, and they partnered with advertisers to share their content in these screens. So it basically gave them a new marketing avenue using 5G. The next one is blockchain. In here, we enumerated three companies that are already using blockchain in their ride sharing and ride hailing services. So the first one is Tada. Tada is the world's first blockchain-based zero-commission ride-hailing service, which originated from Korea. So powered by MVL, which is their specific technology, mobility data such as transactions, movements, accidents, and vehicle maintenance are recorded in a single ecosystem. Next one is BitCab. So referred as Uber 2.0 on the blockchain, BitCab is a decentralized ecosystem of diverse riders. So actually blockchain, when implemented in ride-sharing industry, it competes with the existing players like Grab and Uber because it decentralizes the system, the ecosystem. It gives the opportunity to the riders to coordinate directly with the drivers through blockchain. So participants are rewarded loyalty tokens for contributing to the ecosystem. The last one is Daxi. So Daxi is a blockchain-based ride-sharing company in Malaysia. So similar with BitCab, it utilizes cryptocurrency as tokens to its drivers. Last one is autonomous ride-hailing. So just this year, Waymo, a Google self-driving project turned Alphabet unit, has opened up its driverless ride-hailing service to some parts of the United States, particularly in Phoenix. So it is the world's first company to do that, to offer driverless ride-hailing services to the public. Of course, it doesn't have the consumer base yet of Grab and Uber. In 2017, however, Lyft established a partnership with Ford to deploy self-driving cars on the platform by 2021. So next year, may driverless cars na din sa Lyft. And actually, autonomous ride-hailing and driverless cars would be powered by 5G and would utilize 5G's ultra-low latency to communicate with servers and networks around the world.
Thank you for that in-depth explanation, Carlson. We are about to proceed to the last portions of this sector study. Let's first see our conclusions in the form of opportunities and threats. TNC firms under the transportation sector can take advantage of the following. First, we must be wary of the technology infrastructure readiness for online services such as mobile networks. The market is very familiar, thus less effort in introducing new service platforms is needed. Second, due to the strong familiarity of the dominant TNC apps like Grab and Uber, the market is close to the customer base that potential competition can take advantage. They just need to boost their marketing in order to strive for their own brand awareness. Third, we should not discount the continuous urban development in the major provinces. TNC market positioning is highly attracted to the areas of high economic activity. Next, the COVID-19 pandemic brought about the drastic changes in consumer behavior. Yet, TNC operators can turn this into an opportunity by giving guarantee of safety and compliance by applying quarantine practices such as social distancing. This is because commuters tend to minimize their exposure to crowds that are common in mass transit. Last, there could be instances where drivers from the traditional transport operator with granted TNVS franchise would want to provide their services within the TNC operator's offering. A taxi conversion program can give a broader flexibility to the driver by allowing them to be a courier or a rideshare based on their vehicle type. Despite the various advantages, we identify the following challenges that threatens the industry subsector. First off, the amount of difficulty to apply for a permit and obtain a franchise contributes to the high barrier to entry in the political legal aspect. It is that this intended red tape is due to the impression of the monopolistic practices that Uber and Grab perpetuated in the local market recent years. Second, it is the decrease of commuters due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As quarantine guidelines imposed stay-at-home orders, this affected the entire transportation sector. Third, the first-mover TNC operators are apparently multinational companies. Apart from the success of gaining market share dominance, they have superior and stable technology, as well as high capital, than late entrants who still needs to improve their service quality. Finally, the imposed strict regulation by the government, such as the driving capping, poses a significant limitation in business operations. Overall, we can say that it is daunting to enter and maintain a market position as a TNC operator. Let's look at some recommendations. As mentioned earlier, a major market constraint is the regulations imposed by the government. If these various caps and limitations are removed, it will allow more value exchange between the commuter and the driver. Next, various policies and costs are faced by the operators. It will be helpful if leeways and subsidies are provided by the government for both market entry and exit. Then, TNC platforms are considered as growing services with rising expectations. Thus, we propose that these platforms should be able to maintain consistency in service quality and price. Telematic apps uses data analytics to determine driver behavior which appeals to safety, like detecting speed limit compliance. It will also be helpful if there are ways to log car damages and issues. As for the demand and service availability, it should be mindful that the customer is price sensitive. Flexibility and consistency may also be achieved when intelligent apps are applied to address this. After that, new product or service innovations may also ensure customer loyalty and may even expand to integrate other related services such as hotel and airport. Finally, our recurring emphasis that there are other key regions with emerging economic activity are market opportunities for TNCs. And that ends our discussion for the transport network service market subsector. Again, this is Sam as part of Group 1 ICAPA team. Thank you for listening and have a good one.